I would always be trying to figure out what the new thing was because you get that feeling. You're chasing that feeling.
To have this vision of like what being a good husband is, what being a good father is, like hold on to those pretty tight. Today I have to consciously say like, nope, just let go of that.
You need the reminders because life, it just takes over.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Live Into Your Brilliance, the place where we dive deep, go exploring to find the experiments and the insights that allow us to see the truth of who we are and live lives that we love right now. I know that you're used to this show sometimes being a twosome and possibly even a threesome. And today, for the first time ever, we are a foursome, which is super exciting. So as always, I'm joined by Bilos, who's got a little bit of a cold and is sounding even sexier than normal. So Bilos, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm good, thanks. Yeah, I've got the winter Christmas lurgy, which I've been fighting for the last couple of days, and I'm just determined that it's not going to scupper my Christmas shebeen party on Friday. So I'm trying to be as sensible as I can. But I'm super chuffed that today we do have a very special couple, because this couple is like an LIYB OG couple. They were there with us right at the beginning.
Exactly. Well, like let's you can see their lovely faces. So we'll talk to them into the room. So today we're joined by Chris and Magan Hutchins, and like Bilos said, the Chris and Magan came on one of our original. We did a Live Into Your Brilliance group program, which was all online, and we spent 10 weeks together on weekly calls, which was amazing for us to have Chris and Magan with us, and we're just super excited to have them back on as people who kind of, I guess, came as part of on a Live Into Your Brilliance experience with us, and I know you guys have then been off doing your own explorations, and so we're super keen to learn what's been unfolding for you. Both are extremely successful professionals in their own right, in leadership roles and different things that as we go through this, no doubt they will share as part of their stories. But like we said, it's kind of unusual to have a husband and wife team coming on and being able to share with us. So it'll be super interesting to hear whether your insights and the things you'll point to are the same or different, and where that's going to collide. So first of all, it's just great to have you with us, and we're both super excited to kind of...
Oh, thanks for having us. This is exciting.
Let's just dive in with our question, because I don't know whether you're going to, like I said, whether you're going to have a different answer each, or whether you have colluded in advance and you've come up with a joint insight. But we are super curious to know, like, given the explorations that you've been on and the lives you've been living over the last few years, what is it that like is alive in you today that you think, this is the insight or the myth that you would love to blow up? And if you could just, if the world was listening and they could hear you, you'd be like, this would be super cool for people to kind of catch a glimpse of.
Yeah. So I think for me, and it's been really clear, is, you can't be perfect in everything, and you can't do it all. And I think, in theory, it's like, oh, well, of course you can't, but actually living that is a different animal, right? It's like, how do you give 110% at your job and in your marriage and as a parent and to yourself? Like, the math just doesn't math, right? And, prior to having a kid, which is when I met y'all, I think my daughter was just one, right? And I was very postpartum and learning a lot about myself and parenthood and all the things of first and only child. So I think of these last 3 years, that's been my, that myth of like, oh, the woman can do it all, right? Of course, they can be the room mom and bake the cookies and, do all the things, right? And that's just not real. It just, you can't. The math just doesn't math. And once I think I came to that realization, I gave myself some grace there about maybe not being perfect in all these ways and picking and choosing where I give my 110%. It's made me a much happier person.
Hmm.
Oh,
That's a
yeah.
juicy one. I can't wait to unpack that one. But first, Chris, what's a wake for you?
Um, I think that yeah, one thing that kind of hit me as I was reflecting on this question was that I really believe that we are in well, it's more than I believe. Like I know that we're in much more control of our lives and our situations than we often think. Um, and what I mean by that is like life's all about choices, and we either want to do something or we don't want to do something. And when people, myself included, like, you know, I find myself using language like, oh, I have to do this or I have to do that, and talking about maybe a responsibility I have with either my daughter or wife or work or fitness or whatever it is, it's easy to fall into like, I have to do this. It's like, no, no, no. You either want to do something or you don't want to do something. And things that you feel like you have to do, you actually maybe want to do. Or you should ask yourself, do I want to do this or do I feel like I have to do it for some other reason that isn't me wanting to do it? And really pushing on that to the extreme has been helpful for me. Like, sometimes I realize it's like 3 layers deep. No, I want to do it because I want, maybe it is legit. I want to be perceived as this kind of person at work. So I feel like, so I actually do want to do it. Or maybe it's sometimes that kind of analysis is too big of a word for it, but like that kind of thinking leads me to like, actually, I don't want to do this. But I felt like I had to. So, yeah, I think that's what I would say is if more people, and I'm kind of talking to myself included, like realized more of the time that you're in full control of how you spend your time, I guess that's where I'm mostly thinking like how you spend your time and energy. I think that would relieve a lot of pressure and stress that we deal with and help us realize, yeah, we're in control and we want to be doing the things that we're doing or else we wouldn't do it or we should rethink it, you know.
It sounds to me, and thank you both for sharing that. But it sounds to me in both cases that there's been a certain amount of letting go. And it's, and it's difficult, it's hard, and we talk about it a lot on this podcast, but it is sometimes very difficult to let go of these narratives which have done such an amazing job of kind of getting us to where we're at. But then finding, sometimes it does require courage, or sometimes it's just a moment of clarity, and it's an insight that just hits you square between the eyes. But sometimes you just like, oh my word, that no longer serves me. And the more I get comfortable with letting go of that narrative, the lighter I feel. And I mean, Megan, you used the word grace. You showed yourself a lot of grace by letting go of that narrative around what does it mean to be the perfect mom and the perfect wife and the perfect professional and the perfect friend and what have you. And also for you, Chris, like letting go of the narrative of like, oh, I need to do all of this. This is how I should show up, or what have you. And then finding the grace to go, no, actually, that's not true. And I have all the agency I desire. I can make a choice. And then I got to be comfortable with that choice. I got to live by that choice, but I have the choice. Um, and and then that feeling of control that starts to flood in. There's a lightness and there's a playfulness that you can develop with that. versus feeling like a prisoner sometimes. Does that resonate?
It definitely does with me. Like maybe it helps me because I like to be in control. Maybe a lot of people do, but it helps remind me that I'm in control. And maybe that we could have a whole nother conversation about that angle. But yeah, totally. It's good to remind myself, at least I'll speak for myself, that I have full agency. Someone told me once that should just be removed from the vocabulary. Like, you either want to do something or you don't want to do something. I think about that a lot too. So yeah, it definitely resonates. What about you, Megan?
Yeah. No, it's funny hearing Chris talk about it. It's like to your point, Bilos, we said the same thing, just in different ways that it impacts our own lives, right? It's like, how do you prioritize your time? Because there's only so much of you to go around. And so what does that look like? And what is that to you? And just because that's what it was 10 years ago doesn't mean that's what it is now. And it's funny because you also said that really resonated with me. It's what got us where we are, right? Like, my determination, my giving 110% at work and all those sorts of things got me to my career path where I am. But life's different now. And it's okay to make the shifts, right? I think I'll speak for myself. Like, I found validation in those things. Like, I found validation in being successful at work and being a good mom and being, and so it's also like reframing your brain on what that validation is, right? Because just because society says it's that way or Instagram says it's that way or whatever doesn't have to be your reality, you know?
Have you noticed, so it's kind of cool to have, as I said, a husband-wife team on here. So listening to each other's insights, do you see that in each other?
Oh, yeah.
And what have you noticed? Like, Megan, what have you noticed about Chris? Like, do you notice how do you see that he's shifted as a result of that or not?
I mean, I just think the way he prioritizes his time, focusing on himself, like fitness and his Chris time, I would call it, right? For a long time, he'd feel guilty about, oh, I'm not helping enough with Eloise, that's her daughter's name. Like, I'm not, oh, Megan, you're on your own. And it's one of those things, it's like, that was living in his brain. I was like, you go do your thing, dude, because you're happier, I'm happier. That's just how this works, right? Like, we all need to be feeling like we're our best versions of ourselves. And so I think I've definitely seen that in Chris, where he just takes a lot more autonomy and whatever those things are that kind of bring him back to grounded.
Mm. And Chris, does that resonate with you? Like, was there a storyline in your head that prior to this that you couldn't because and you needed to and like kind of no matter what Megan said, like were you thinking, yeah, like that's fine, but like actually the real truth is that I actually do need each other. How was that for you? Like what was running the show before you had this insight? How did that sound?
That absolutely. And I'd be lying if I said it didn't still happen and I still don't have to kind of work through it. But the narrative oftentimes was like, I had and still a little bit have this vision of like what being a good husband is, what being a good father is, what being a good employee is. And I'm a pretty stubborn guy sometimes, and I hold on to those pretty tight. And it takes a lot for me to change my point of view on that. That's something Megan and I've been working on for like years, probably our whole relationship. We've been together for like 10 years or so. And like me feeling guilty that I'm not like available all the time to like be present with Megan. Like if I'm going out and doing something and I know Megan got home earlier than expected, I'm like, oh man, I should get home and be there, because that's like part of my definition of being a good partner, is to be there for and with your spouse and spend quality time together like 100% of the time. And that I've that one's been that's been harder for me to let go of. But I feel like honestly, in the past, yeah, a couple of years, I feel like I've been able to, I don't know, like trust others' perspectives on the matter and not be so stubbornly clinging on to mine. And like I'm finally starting to listen to Megan a little bit more. Like, no, you go do this. I'm like, I'm good. Uh, and it's funny even articulating out loud because it sounds so silly in so many ways, like when you actually say it. But um, but yeah, like, and now I guess more recently the narrative's been more more of me letting go, like you said, Bilos, and more of me like trusting that other people can be right about the things that I hold strong beliefs about, and they don't have to be the same. And so it's almost like this leap of faith. Almost every time we encounter one of those little micro situations where Megan says, "Oh no, don't you worry about X, Y, or Z," and the old me would be anxious about that. Even today, I have to consciously say, like, nope, just let go of that and go do my thing. And I rely less on me rationalizing of why that's okay. Me rationalizing might look like, oh yeah, it's okay because it's a better family unit because I'm happy and I need my space. And how much time is Megan being stressed out by X, Y, or Z? And like that is sort of let go. I used to rely on that to feel comfortable with those kinds of decisions, but just letting go and just trying to relax about the whole thing and not trying to, I don't know. That's it's hard to articulate, but those are some of the things that have been um, helpful for me in recent times that I haven't been able to do in the past.
I really like. So, by the way, it came across really articulate to me, and I particularly appreciated that last point, which is like letting go of the need to logic things out in whatever way we think we have to. Like, oh no, it is okay because if I stack this in this way, and then this means this, which is pretty tiring, I would imagine, when you were doing that. But it kind of links back, I think, to what you said, like, oh, I either want to do it or I don't want to do it. And so I just think, because I think that's something we all do. We think we have to justify our choices in some kind of rationale versus being able to keep it in the simple rationale of, oh no, I want to do this. And actually, in this case, my wife has said, like, I'm good, go. And sometimes it's funny, isn't it? Like our choice to believe someone else when they go, no, I'm good, you go. And then we're like, no, you're not good. Like, I will stay because I've decided that's my job. And it's kind of cool to see that, like, that we can listen. And Megan, from your side, like, again, I'm just pulling this thread because I like there's some of this so familiar to me, but because you would mean that, like, wouldn't you? Like, you strike me as a pretty straight talking woman that if you wanted Chris to stay, you'd be like, no, don't go. Like, I want you to stay. Like, there's not a lot of, it strikes me that you'd be pretty straight talking in those things. So it's not you wouldn't say one thing and mean the other, or am I overestimating your straight shootedness?
Well, I feel like it's a journey. It's been a journey for me. Like when we first got together 10 years ago, heck no, because I think I was still trying to find my my voice in all of that and being the people pleaser, like I mentioned, earlier, of like being the great girlfriend at the time or whatever. But I think over the course of the last, I don't know how many years, I feel like COVID made everything a time warp, but you know, way much stronger. And I had to pound that in his brain. I'm like, listen, dude, please go play tennis. Also, I'm enjoying my glass of wine and cooking dinner over here by myself. And so it's been, but yeah, I would say definitely since y'all have known me, yeah, I'm a straight shooter and I definitely am like, you know, pretty vocal about what I need and what bothers me. And I will say too, like that's been something that I think for Chris and I is, you know, and y'all might have even given us these tips, right? Of like just checking in with each other. And so, he take playing tennis is a good example. Like he plays on a beer league during the week, and I'm like, he'll still say like, "Hey, I know you've had a lot going on, or you've been traveling. Like, you sure it's still cool?" And there are times where I'm like, actually, nope. mama needs a bath or mama needs whatever, like this is not going to work today. And so we've just figured out this, like the communication piece of it so that we both feel like we're getting what we need. And it's really a game changer.
I'm curious because you both have sort of observed this letting go and this sort of change and control, this retaking, if I could frame it that way, kind of retaking of life. And I'm is there a shift that you've observed around where being more free of the narrative allows you to be more curious about each other? Is that a thing?
Yeah, I think to a degree. Like I think, I mean, we have, I mean, I guess I don't know, as a 4-year-old, a toddler, our daughter just turned 4. Like I feel like we are still learning so much about ourselves to a degree. Like yes, letting go of the narrative is great, but it's like, what is that? That's our own narrative that we're still learning. So to that point, yes, like it does make us curious about each other. But I think we're kind of still so in the thick of it, of figuring out who we are as parents, like individually, and making all these, the chips or the puzzle pieces all connect. That I'm actually excited because you can see that we're way more, that curiosity exists, right? And we can just keep expanding on it. But I think we're still building a lot of that foundation too.
Yeah, I tell you where that question came from is I've noticed with Vanessa, my wife, when and I'm similar to Chris. I think she loves racket sports, so she plays pickle and paddle and platform and anything under the sun, any racket she can lay a hand on. But when I get and I've noticed this, when I get curious about her pickle game or her paddle match, or and and I immerse myself in it, and I actually, like, I experience the joy that she's experiencing, telling me about getting together with her friends and the fun they had. It kind of, it transports me to a very different place. And what I mean by that is it allows me to let go of a lot of the noise that's running in my head about the day and things that have happened in the day. But it's not only a genuine interest in, like, what she was doing and the fun she was having, but I find it anchors me back in the present in a way that, like, is really good for my soul. Like, it actually, it's like it feeds my soul, and it takes me back home to a place that I want to be operating from, rather than from the, like, hey, how was the game? Yeah, okay, great, like, let's get dinner on, and then, oh, by the way, the kids are arriving, and, like, we got to set the table and blah blah, versus, like, yeah, that's got to happen, that's gonna happen, but I'm just really curious, like, how was your time with Jen and the ladies? Like, how did the game go? Like, tell me about it. And I don't know, there's a and the more I find myself allowing myself, and I don't even know if that's the right language, allowing myself to be curious on that level, the more I see Vanny more clearly than I normally do. And it's quite weird because we've been together for 25 years. But you see her for the amazing person she is, not just the person, and this is going to sound terrible, and I don't mean it to sound terrible, but, like, it's not just the person cohabiting the same house as you, like, in a very busy lifestyle. Like, does that make sense?
It makes it, Yeah, it makes total sense. I think I I'm I think that most people who are in long term relationships will know exactly what you mean and know that that's not a negative thing at all. The way you framed it, um, I as you're talking, like that's something that um, I'm gonna like. I was taking a lot of mental notes as you were talking, and it makes a ton of sense. And that's something I would love to. I don't do a great job at, and I would love to do a better job at. Is like allowing myself, or whatever the word is, to get deeply curious more often, right? Because it is so easy to fall into the okay, what's dinner? What do we have? Should we defrost it? Okay, okay, bedtime's coming up, and is the homework done? And is the T-shirt Tuesday tomorrow? And like all the stuff, and it's hard to not let that run your life. Is and So I love what you said, and I want to do more of that because that sounds great.
I wrote that down. I'm like, more of this. You probably saw me over here writing. I'm like, it's it's why every time I talk to y'all, like we get so much out of this. It's just you need the reminders because life does sometimes it just takes over. And, it's a constant reminding of yourself of the curiosity. And it's funny because Chris and I were just talking yesterday, like, I own my own company. I have a tendency to be on my phone a lot because, I'm just like, huh. And I'm doing way better for the record, but there's definitely room for improvement. And we were talking about it yesterday, and it's like we just need to make a rule. 5 o'clock, the phone's gone. Like guess what? The world will go on. It's probably one of my things that I hang on the most, just about the pride that I take in my company and these other things that I'm doing. And I would say also just I learned from George and Linda Pransky that I have a busy mind, and that is a true statement. And I am trying to calm that, And so doing all these anyway, it just really resonated with me. I'm like, I have got to do a better job of that because I do exactly what you said. It's like, oh, you had fun. Oh, great. Oh, cool. Great. Bedtime. Who's doing bedtime tonight? You know? And it's just I really have to just reconstruct my brain
Hmm.
with that.
It sounds like you guys have, like you've mentioned George and Linda Pransky. Like, what are some of the things that you've done over the last few years that have kind of created openings? And are there some things, some stories? Sounds like there might be some stories and things in there that might be, interesting to share or worth
Yeah,
exploring.
yeah. It's been really fun. I think that let me think for a second. I think yeah, the Live into Your Brilliance program. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, Megan. That was the first time that definitely together or probably separately we'd done any kind of engaging with any sort of coaching of any kind. I mean, we both dabbled in therapy and couples therapy to try to strengthen our relationship and improve ourselves and all that, which I think is a little bit separate. But this is like the way I categorize what that program was like us not trying to go address issues that we're having, but rather go explore how we can like go beyond and do more and like it's more opportunistically minded. So that was the first, and like you said, that was maybe 3 years ago, and then that set me on a real path of curiosity around um some of the people that you introduced us to in that program and read their books, and it also coincided with a period of my life where I didn't have a full-time job, so I had a lot of time to like dig into that kind of stuff, which was fun. And then that's how I got introduced to the work from Linda and George Pransky. And I think you and I connected on that, Alan, when we were just catching up. And you mentioned that you've done some work with them. Um, and then we read their books. And then, I don't know, Megan and I came to this realization at some point. I don't remember exactly why, but like, hey, we could use some of that thinking that they're so good and like the same conversations that you all have, like we need more of that thinking and more like we would love to have someone who thinks about this every day and like really, um, I don't know, is really skilled at helping people elevate their thinking. And we would love to have some like deep time with them. So Megan and I went to Washington and spent, was it, I guess it was four
Like
days,
4 days. Yeah.
primarily with Linda. We got to meet George as well. Um, and that was, gosh, that was, I don't know, 9 months ago or 6 months ago, something. No, yeah, 6 months ago, something
Yeah.
like that. And that was awesome. And it just, I don't know, it was really nice to be able to have someone like Linda who's so, it's like she has magical powers because she could hear you talk about something for, I don't know, a minute and then just nail exactly like fill out the rest of the picture of your life and your worldview, and then speak to you in a way that like really resonates. And then you kind of start to maybe get defensive or push on the weak spot. She's like, no, 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 like that's bullshit. Like this is what's going on, right? And we're like, yeah, I guess so. And so that was really her style was really helpful, I think, for both of us. Of that, like very direct, um, but really like wise and way of working with us that felt natural and good. And anyway, I could go on and on, but those are some of the things that we've done. And I think that one thing I'm really proud of ourselves for, and we talk about this every so often about how we're proud of ourselves in this respect is being open to improving the fundamentals of our relationship in ways that I think push us both. Well, I know push us both, and we've made so many huge im- improvements in our relationship. Like our relationship now is, I don't think it's a stretch to say night and day different than the first, I call like the first phase of our relationship when we were still trying to figure each other out and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, those are some of the things that we've done, and happy to get into any more of that. But yeah, I don't want to dominate too much. Megan, what would
Well,
you like?
I will just weigh in by saying I did not, if we're being honest here, even want to do your program out. And Chris was like, I think it'd really benefit you. I'm like, I don't have time for this. I am busy. I have a newborn at home. What? No way. And I will never forget. I don't know if it was the first or second. It was pretty early on. And you also talk about Mavis and this book and reading her. And I'm like, I don't even know what this means. It's like, this is way over my head. Like I didn't even have the mental space, the time to even like let that resonate with me. And throughout the course and time, and I think I might have even said it, I don't know, at one of our sessions or something, but all of a sudden I had this aha moment. I'm like, oh, that's what she meant. Oh, of course, but I came into this with, again, my busy mind that I just didn't even give it space for wanting to kind of dive that deep into some of those things, whether it was because it was scary or it was new or whatever. And now, like a lot of those things are mantras in my life. And like Michael Singer, I mean, Chris went and heard him speak in Florida. I mean, we pretty much read every single one of his books. It's just all these different things that now I'm like, oh, I get it. This speaks to me, like, and I think doing, Al doing the class, doing our session is what opened me up to that. And I've always been a person, I'm like pro therapy, all those things about bettering myself. But I just, for whatever reason, Chris was like, you should do this. You'll benefit from it. And I think I kind of did it as like, okay, sure. And I think it changed my life in a lot of ways. Like it's just, again, one, just the fact that it introduced us to these people is crazy.
Mm.
And even beyond that, like my yoga practice and the meditation and all the things that I do now, I would argue y'all kickstarted just from exploring beyond. I didn't know who Mavis was. I didn't know who I didn't know who Michael Singer was. I didn't know who. Yeah, I didn't know. I just didn't know. And so it's been amazing. And then, yeah, Chris nailed Linda. Man, you can't pull one on Linda. She knows it all. And it was you know how many friends I have suggested go. I mean, it was a really an amazing experience. And Chris said, like, you try to get defensive and you just can't. You just can't. I mean, she just stops you in your tracks. And it's such a you have to be ready for it. I think you have to be in the mental and emotional space to take some of that because it's not always pleasant. But literally, the first day, she was like, okay, Meg, you're going to listen to this recording from George from like 1970. I'm like, okay. And I literally was like, oh my God, this is me. He is talking about me in his lecture at Stanford. It is me, you know? And she's like, of course it is. Because, you know, and you're not alone, by the way. That was also a huge feeling for me. It's like you sometimes think that you're just like the only person on this island going through what you're going through or having these feelings or whatever. And it was like, if he gave this as a lecture back in the day to Stanford, then I know I'm not the only person and it's fixable, you know? So anyway, it's really been a fun journey and we're still on it, you know, which is also exciting.
Just to pile onto that last point, it's easy. I don't know. It might be easy for people listening to this to think like, oh, Megan and Chris got to figure it out. Like our relationship stinks or something. Like we have so much stuff that is so in progress that I want to make that super clear.
Yeah.
That we work with this stuff every day, and it's nice to have some things that we're anchored on. So just wanted to call that out specifically. You know,
well, if we had it figured out, we wouldn't have gone to see Linda in Washington. You know what I mean? It's like. Yeah. You know, I think we're just open to but we do not have it figured out at all. It's a journey for us. Like every day is different. You know, you take it day by day. And I will say though, I do think both of us are committed to being the best versions of ourselves. We don't know what that means necessarily. We don't always know what that looks like, but we're on that journey and we're both support each other on that.
But isn't it nice to know that you don't have all the answers? But one thing you know for sure is you're not broken. Because I think a lot of people come into these explorations thinking, I am broken and I have to fix something. As opposed to going, you know, when somebody like a Linda or a Mavis or somebody like that can say to you, you're perfect exactly how you are. And all you have to do is kind of work at getting back home. You know, get back to the point where you understand how you're truly wired and then operate from that place. And I think that's just an important message, you know, like, and to your point, Chris, like people listening to this, I don't want people to think, oh, well, you know, I might be broken right now, but if I kind of sort of lean into what Chris and Magan are doing, then, you know, maybe I too could sort of start to repair myself, as opposed to going, no, beautiful people, like the truth is you are not broken. You are perfect just the way you are. And oftentimes these explorations allow us just to get out of our own way.
But it's interesting that you say that because it was that kind of rhetoric that I was listening to in like our first few sessions. And I'm like, I don't know what that means. I don't know how to get back home. I don't know what you mean. Like, this is the only chaos. This is all I know, you know? And it was, and I'm sure the people who listen, they might be further along than I was when I started living into my brilliance. But now that makes total sense to me. And there was a time where I was literally like, I don't even understand how to even start. I don't even understand what you mean. And so anyway, it does. And you feel this inner peace, and it's not perfect and it's not, and it changes, but you feel different.
So can I ask a question, Megan? If just based on that comment alone, because I think that's really, really good for me to hear. Because if you're thinking like, I don't even know what that means, like this person's out of his mind. But if you were sort of taking what you know now and the exploration you've been on, if you were sitting down with one of your friends with a nice glass of wine and you were sort of trying to convey what I was trying to convey there, how would you sort of get that across?
Oh Lord.
And
I don't even
I'm like, I think this is amazing, because I think this is really, really good for me and Elle to hear, because we say it all the time and we probably don't appreciate when people go, I don't even know what he's talking about.
Well, I think I will be honest. Like, I actually had a friend who was going through some stuff, and you know, I, I basically I just said, you don't have. That's like, why do you even think like that? That's because society tells you, like, you don't have to think like that. Society tells you to think like this. And I think I handed her one of Singer's books. I'm like, you're going to read this, and then we're going to talk again and see if it makes more sense to you. Because I think someone like her and someone like me, when I started, like, I hadn't started a spiritual journey within myself. I just hadn't. And so for her specifically, and we're peers, we've been friends for a long time. And then I think I shared some similar examples of myself, of just me kind of having it come to light for me, really helped her understand what that is. And to be fair, I don't know that she still knows, right? Like, I think she's still kind of, figuring out what all of that means to her. But I do think for someone to be true to themselves, which to me is what this boils down to, I think a lot of people don't even know what that means, because their whole life they've been living for someone else, something else, and they haven't been living for themselves. And so, I think sometimes it's just starting very simple. I'm like, what is one thing that you love to do? Do more of that. That feeling you feel, more of that. Like, what can you do to, and that's what I told her. And I don't know if it helped or not, but that's what I said. But, I
I
don't
love
know.
that. I love that.
That's quite. That's a very beautiful way of pointing people towards home. Do more of what you love to do. Follow, like, I just hear Sid Banks recording in my mind. Follow the feeling, and the feelings will bring you home, or something like Mavis would say. I think that's really cool. I also loved what you said there around, kind of ties into what Chris was talking about at the beginning. You don't have to think that. And that I'm not sure that people, I didn't know for the longest time that was a choice. That's just like interesting thing, isn't it? Like, you go, oh, what, like, I don't have to think that. It's not the truth. So I do want to come on to, I do want to ask Chris the same question I asked you, Megan. Like, what does he notice that's different in you, in you, in a second? So Chris, you can start prepping your answer there for what you're going to share with the world around how Megan's changed. First of all, like, I really appreciate just like your honesty, Megan, in terms of saying, like, you didn't even want to turn up to our program, and because not so much like, it's awesome to hear that there was something in there that was helpful and pointed you in a direction. But it reminded me of, like, you never know what's going to lead where. And sometimes it's just like, it's just kind of cool to see that. Like, I remember I was on an NLP course, and Michael Neal's name just got mentioned, like, in passing. I was like, oh God, I think I've got to go and explore that. And I don't know why, and I'm not sure, because I'm doing this course, but now I got to go there. And it's just kind of cool to see that we can go on these journeys. And you said it is a journey. I think that's the truth of all of these explorations. Is life is a journey of exploring the truth of who you are. And it's just, it all comes back to something that's so much simpler than almost any of us can imagine, which is kind of cool to know. So yeah, it's just a good reminder for me of like how these things breadcrumb to keep showing us, bringing us back if we're willing to kind of look. And it's just very cool. But Chris, I've kind of filled time enough for you now to have an amazing like perspective on how, what if you've seen any shift in Megan from as she's gone on her journey and seen her insights, and what have you noticed there?
Um, I I've definitely noticed. I mean, Megan's touched on it already a little bit, but I've noticed pretty uh, strongly that Megan is almost like she has this new perspective and new tool. Tool is kind of maybe I want a bigger word than tool, but like this set of tools that she can rely on, that when things get crazy or hectic or um, as they get, I've seen Megan like make a conscious effort to like ground herself back in those kind of moments of insight that she's gotten in the past, and like a pretty solid uh like a pretty solid muscle that's been built to say, I can reground myself in this chaos, and I can go take action to help me reground myself if I need that assistance. For example, like very concretely, I love it every time that Megan prioritizes going to yoga, particularly when things are really stressful, because I'm like, oh yeah, Megan's doing it. She's doing what she needs to do. This is what, and I get it. That it always makes me very happy to see Megan doing that. Because in the past, I would definitely observe like her just bearing the weight and weight and weight and weight and feeling like she's got to do everything and not, from my perspective, like not able to get out of that loop. And I've seen her be able to really successfully get out of that loop much more frequently, and also doing it like in a much more, um, I don't know, dare I say, calm way. like it's almost, it's not like an event, right? It's Megan. It's like, oh, I'm prioritizing this. I'm going to do whatever because I need my time to reground myself or whatever it might be. And it's not like an event. It's just part of her routine in life now, which I wasn't really seeing in the past as much. And so I love seeing that.
Have you found that being I want to use the phrase essentially selfish, but like but being good to yourself, like being kind to yourself by going off to yoga or just taking a pause, or Chris, going off to tennis or what have you, or taking time out of the day and spending time with Eloise because you want to just immerse yourself in that. Have you found, because you're both busy professionals as well as parents and partners, have you found that by giving yourself space and finding the grace, you have a sense of being able to do more or cope better or sort of widen the aperture? And I ask that selfishly because I've said this to Al a couple of times, that when I make conscious choices about slowing down to the pace of life, I suddenly feel like the aperture opens up like exponentially. Like I feel like I can actually do more. Now, do I want to go and do more? Not necessarily. but I feel like I've got the breathing space to do more, as opposed to feeling like I'm just kind of hanging on by my fingernails. And nothing's really changed other than kind of consciously allowing myself space.
I would argue too, like what you said earlier, Phyllis, about curiosity with your wife and her things. That feeling of like home and peace, I get that when I go to yoga, right? Like that is what regrounds me. And or like I just the other day told Chris, I'm gonna take Friday off work. I'm gonna pull Eloise out of school and we're gonna go because it's 70 degrees here. We're going to the beach and we're just gonna spend all day together and build sandcastles and do the thing. No phones, just do it. And it does that for me. It just brings me back, to use your term, home. And, Chris isn't joking. Like the Magan meltdowns were real and they would happen. I mean, he could almost pick them when they were going to happen. And, just by even just being able to avoid that, see myself getting that position and mitigating that situation without having a meltdown, you gain so much of your time back and your voice back. And then over time it becomes your norm. And it's been really great.
Yeah, I agree with that. And for me, prioritizing that self-care, and that could be anything. It could be yoga, it could go to the gym. And for me, it's all, and I think for me, it's very much connected to like physical activity also. So it's, I think that's, I could talk forever about that as well, but I think that plus just time away from, I don't know, it's like no matter what it is, it's meditative. Like if I go work my tail off at the gym, I can't think about anything else except for the present, and I'm getting the endorphins and everything, and I'm feeling good that I check that box off to go to the gym, and like all these things compound. And for me, and that could be tennis or whatever, but I kind of return to the world, if you will, with so much more clarity and a better perspective on what's important. And that could mean the big life important things, or it could mean like what's important for my day at work to like make sure I knock off my list. And so for me, it's not about necessarily, I feel like I could do more. It's to feel like I could do like volume wise. I feel like I know it's clearer what I should do in whatever aspect of my life remains for that day. Or even it helps like answer questions that I've been wrestling with that like, oh yeah, next month I am going to do this. Or there's a new idea that's like, I'll come home from the gym a lot and I'll say, I'm going to go do this. Like I'm going to go enroll in this class. I'm going to go find this happened last week and I haven't even told Megan yet, but I came home from the gym and like, I want to go enroll in like an outdoor wilderness survival class. And I'm going to go find, there's got to be one, and I'm going to go find one and I'm going to go sign up. And like that kind of stuff that just pops into my head. I'm like, I'm going to do that. And that's kind of a weird, well, not that weird of an example. It's kind of a common example. At the same time, I came home from the gym about 6 months ago. I said, I'm getting a tattoo that's going to commemorate Eloise, like for sure. And that one kind of fell off the list, but so I'm less excited about that. Those kinds of like things, they're like the big ideas that become clear. Like I'm going to go explore this a little bit more, and it just makes life much more fun and relaxing. So I don't know, it's just the release of the pressure, but also the gaining in clarity and release of the feeling like I got to get all this stuff done. It's like, no, what do I have to get done? And let's go do that. And you can be calm about it. So that's what it does for me.
Yeah. We talk about, so often we talk on here about practice. Like it's the practice that makes a difference. And I think this is one of the biggest things I'm taking from chatting to you both, is just hearing how much of it is like a consistent practice in different areas. Like you're founding your own practices, and you used a word, like you've used some great words, but one of my favorites is reground. Like you said that Megan regrounds herself back in whatever it is she needs to do, and that's her practice. And then you said like compounds over time. I think like it's not always something new. I just love that. Like it's not always that we got to go and find what's the next thing, what's the newest thing. It's like, no, slow back down and just like reground, reconnect with the practices that like guide you back home. And then I just love how clearly, as you said, then you get these insights or moments of clarity. It's like, oh yeah, I'm going to go and do a wilderness program, or I'm going to get that tattoo at some point. Maybe, you never know. I was very just like, because I know we're coming up on time, but I'm curious because you've mentioned Eloise a couple of times. As parents, like, do you think it's shifted anything for you as parents? Is there anything that you believe, like, that you're excited for Eloise from like the perspective that you've got for yourselves? I'm just curious if there's any insights from a kind of parenting side of things.
A huge yes. I I'm so excited for Eloise's future, especially with, and I don't want to overweight this, but I feel very grateful that Megan and I both have been um, thinking about these kinds of things, and like that stuff that we've been talking about in this conversation, and conscious enough to be able to both demonstrate and like directly educate Eloise on how to just deal with the world as she's growing up. Like right now she's 4, and it's like seems to be prime time to like figure out how do you deal with stuff when you don't get your way, and how do you be patient, and how do you deal with hurt feelings and all these things. And um it's been, so I'm excited to I'm just really excited for Eloise's future, and I'm grateful that we've had that exposure, and hopefully we can embark some of that to Eloise. And it's been, I don't know, parenting's a trip. Every time you talk about letting go, right? Like that'll be lifelong work for us. Certainly for me. Like, I remember,
Oh no, we're both extremely hard-headed and stubborn. It's both of us have
yeah,
to.
like letting go. She's her own person. She's going to do things that are different the way that we want, and she's going to, God help us when she's a teenager and all this stuff, right? And I think preparing ourselves to let go almost like on a daily basis, on the short term and long term, is something that I think about a lot. I could talk about this for a long, long time, but I don't want to ramble.
Well, and Chris, I feel like both of us, like part of the reason, again, I think both of us have been through therapy and things like that for ourselves, but like we want to be the best version of ourselves. We're her role model. We're, like we both have learned behaviors from our parents. So, I think maybe we wish we didn't always have, you know what I mean? And parenting's really hard. Everyone's doing the best they can. Like that's definitely very clear to me, and it's like giving us the tools so that we can be the best parents we can. And we're going to screw up and things are going to happen. Sure. But like, we want to feel that we're putting our best foot forward in the parenting journey. And then I would also say when you do let go, like Chris is talking about, and I just think of going back to building sandcastles, and you just bring you back to like the sheer joy in life. It just, you can learn just as much from her, if you let yourself, just in the way you treat people or the simple pleasures of life. And, like what's more strange than a dinosaur sitting on a park bench, is what she told me yesterday. It's like, yeah, that is pretty strange, right? Like it's just all these things that are like, to see life through their little eyes is really is amazing. But you have to let yourself, and trust me, there are plenty of days. I mean, Chris knows I've lost my cookies a few times. That's part of it too. So it helps you become a better person and thinking about how to cope with these things. So anyway, it's been great. She's it's been really fun.
Oh, my girls are 24 and 21, and I still haven't figured it out. And I still lose my cookies. So it's but you like, I think Al's point about practice and what I'm hearing in such a resounding way is you have both developed your own unique practice, and you're very conscious of being in each other's space and being very respectful of each other's sort of approaches. But it sounds like you have your way of catching yourself and and reminding yourself and forgiving yourself, because like we forget all the time, and then we just like, oh yeah, I'm doing it again. And then you focus in on your practice, and then you get the great joy because you get back to that feeling of like, oh, I can do this, I can handle this, I'm not broken, I'm going to get through this, and everything's going to be okay, and we go again, and I think that's awesome. And can I just say, I don't know where the recording is of the session that we had with you guys 3 years ago, but I said it before we came on air here. I don't know what's in the drinking water down in Louisiana, but like the two of you have this like lightness and like this light about you. And I'm not just saying that. I mean, you both have beautiful smiles, but you're smiling a joyfulness and a playfulness, which is just lovely to see. So whatever you're doing, keep doing it, because it's inspiring. It's inspiring.
Well, and if we have time, I'd like to say you said something. I don't know which one of you said it. I think it was you, Al, about always, chase. You don't always have to be chasing something new. And that was my issue. I would always be trying to figure out what the new thing was, because you get that feeling. You're chasing that feeling of purpose, of what brings you joy and the true happiness. And it just really resonated with me because, I mean, Chris knows it would drive him crazy. I'm like, what's this new venture I'm going to be doing? And what's this? And what's that? Woohoo. Whereas now, I didn't even realize it until you said it, but it's like, I don't have to do that to be happy anymore. Like I find happiness in, I mean, let's be clear. I still love an exciting adventure that's really risky because it drives Chris nuts. No, but that's just, I do love that. But I just find simple joy in the simple things. And for a while there, I really couldn't get there.
Yeah.
And I'm proud of myself for that.
You should be. Like, it's a cool thing to see.
100%.
And you reminded me, we had a guy on called Garrett Kramer, and he said that seeking is the source of suffering. And I was like, and I said to him, well, I still think we're here to like create. And he said, oh yeah. He said, there's just a difference between expressing yourself and seeking something. He's like, once you're seeking, you're suffering, but when you're expressing yourself fully, there's pure joy. And it reminded me when you said, oh, don't get me wrong, like I still want to go on an exciting adventure, but it has a different feel when it's coming from a place of like, I don't need to go on a new adventure to be happy, but I can do anything I want, which kind of ties into Chris's. He's like, oh, Frank, I can choose to do anything I want just because I can choose to do anything I want. But I don't need anything in order to be able to experience happiness.
I don't actually need a tattoo.
But I'm going to get one, because that's how I can really show my daughter that she truly meant something to me, that I was prepared to put something on my skin.
I also love that y'all have these one-liners that y'all put out there. They're so good. Like that y'all it's just like, dang, packs the punch. The seeking is the source of suffering. Wrote it down. It'll get framed. It's a good one.
Well, we have to give credit where it's due. That's Garrett Kramer gets all the credit for that one.
Yeah.
So he's the boy on that one. So guys, before we wrap up, like, speaking of one-liners, we get two for the price of one today. Again, what would be your bumper sticker for life if you could design your ultimate one?
This is going to sound weird, but I actually say it a lot to my friends. Fly your freak flag. Be you, man. Just be you and love you and fly your freak flag.
Love that. Jeez, Chris, the bar has been set so high.
Oh man.
Just bring us home, Chris, and don't let us down. Like, no pressure. And remember, if you're experiencing pressure, it's just a thought. Just like let it go. And
The thing that comes to me, which I'll go with, is you're in control. But I also hesitate to say that because like we're also not in control. Like you're in control with an asterisk and then a second bumper sticker that you have to be really close and parked to see what it says. It says you can make all the decisions you want, but realize you're not actually in control.
a bumper sticker with small print. I love it. Like you gotta read the small print. It's like a life lesson in there.
Yeah.
I feel like all your listeners now know our personalities. They just completely know.
Fantastic.
Guys, this has been just a ton of fun. Like it really has. It's been a long time since the four of us were in the same space together. I know it's a virtual space, but it's been just really cool. And thank you both for sharing, like just so openly and candidly about the journey that you guys are on. And I just find it like I find it very inspirational to see a couple who are going on a journey like this together and so clearly invested in themselves, but invested in each other and willing to kind of step into the space of exploration in service of, as you said, being the best versions of yourselves you can be. Like from our perspective, you can't possibly be anything but the best versions of yourself, but I get what you mean. And I genuinely find it inspiring. I think there's a lot that people can learn, particularly couples, around like, oh gosh, you can do this together and really lean in. And so amazing. Like it's been like fun and inspiring and insightful. But that for me is like the kind of standout, my standout takeaway, because I think it's uncommon. I actually think it's uncommon. I think people talk about it a lot, but don't put it into practice to the extent that you guys clearly have. And so, like, kudos and thank you for coming and sharing.
Yeah, well, thanks for the invite. Go ahead.
I was going to say 100% what Elle said, but also I think when we started this podcast, we were like, if we could just shine a light somewhere, we don't even know where, and somebody could pick up what we were putting down and it made a world of difference in some way, that would be amazing. And when I see and listening to the two of you and seeing you like physically in the light, I'm like, you guys you've made my day, because from like, especially with Megan saying, I didn't even want to go on that ridiculous live into your brilliance thing. I was like forced to by my husband. And then to hear what you've seen and the wonderful journey you've been on, both together but as individuals, I think is just amazing. And I think it's like, to use Elle's words, it's super inspiring. Like I just want to put Vanny in a car and go to Laconia like now, and Lacona, sorry, and go there now and like go sit with Linda. But I mean, it's super inspiring. And so thank you very much, because I think people listening to this will get they'll get real energy and inspiration from it, and it's magic. And I think you two are a shining example of what we always say on this podcast, is like, awake people awaken other things, or awaken other people. And I think you've certainly like lit up something inside me just in the last hour. So thank you very much.
Thank you guys. That would have been one of those sayings I would have understood back then, but I do know it now. No, thank y'all. This is great. You know, we need to have a reunion in person.
Yes.
Yes.
We've got to make that happen. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
Girls coming up.
A retreat in Louisiana. That's what we need to organize.
yeah.
It's good for
Yeah.
the soul.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both, and to our listeners and viewers. As always, we hope that listening to Chris and Magan has awoken something in you. And if there's something that struck you today and you're curious, like pull on that thread, follow it. You just never know where it's going to lead. But hopefully it will lead you home. And that's the place that we always point to. Like, that's always on offer. And so, regardless of what it is, enjoy following the thread. And as always, until we're with you again, go forth and live into your brilliance.